almost there. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another live event in YouTube with Crystallize. Today I'm joined by Mr. Board, the CEO of Crystallize. And today, Mr. Board, we're going to be showing or discussing like a really interesting feature for most of the guys that are into Crystallize, right? It's been requested quite a lot. Which is essentially price variance. So how you can do things like B2b pricing, discounts, and stuff like that. And we're gonna be getting that out as well. You know, preparing the boilerplate that we're usually showing, basically deploying that. And you, of course, can check that. It will be live now and forever, essentially. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the introduction.
Good, Stavros. And so what we will look at today is, and maybe I can start sharing my screen, Stavros. Yep. Just show some stuff. Basically, we will look at how we can do different pricing scenarios. So for those that have followed our blog, you will see that we did the blog recently on the topic. So here you have a write-up of some of the scenarios, and we'll basically talk about three main scenarios, and I will show it. The first one is basically B2b pricing, because we have customers that are, typically selling to other companies, and this is a situation where in the B2B space you get price dependent on how much you sell. So if you're a local dealer, you maybe don't sell that much stuff, whatever you're selling, if it's shares. So you have to pay a little bit more per share. If you're selling to a region, maybe you get a little bit better price, and then if you sell, if you're selling to a whole country, you might get more volume discounts. And this is what you want to be able to model out with the price variance. So we'll show that as one scenario. And the other is multi-currency or multinational type of pricing scenario. So we'll show how, and we will actually deploy an example of this on the furniture tenant that you can follow. But basically the introduction is how can you do different pricing in different currencies for different regions, manage that centrally in Crystallize, and then how you fetch that from the APIs, and how you can also use this in the front end. And I guess we have the last one, which is quite often requested, Stavros, I guess.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
Discounts.
Discounts. That's true. And of course, it can be something like all of these combined, or some of these combined. So it's people that are into B2B, into B2B space, and want to go B2C, or they want to see how it works, or discounts and stuff like that. But yeah, for sure, discounts is the most requested one.
Yeah. So I'm now showing one of my tenants in Crystallize, and this is the default where you will have a default price. So all tenants that you spin up with Crystallize will get a default price with a default currency. But if you would like to extend that, what you can do is go under settings and click on price variance. This will allow you to add any number of prices. And you might want to have, if we do, let's say right now in this tenant, it was a race car, it was a toy car, it was data from, we did a live stream on that a couple of streams ago, where we built out a toy store, yeah, for cars. But basically, you might want to have, a membership price. And maybe that's, in this case, I'll do that in euros. So I now have a default price, and you have a membership price, and maybe you even want to rename the default to retail, if you want to use that term. And that way you will be able to add 2 different prices to any product. And I can also extend this with, let's say you're doing international sales. And that will be in US dollars, for example. So all price variants will have a name, it will have an identifier and a currency that you select. Other than that, it's totally up to you to build out, for example, you might have a retail price, which is what you would display maybe for non-logged in users. International could be the guys that select a different region. If you're shipping to the US, for example, you want to have US prices. And what we can also look at is what if you're doing special timed events, for example, like you have this Black Friday. And here you will be able to define special prices for special events or special occasions. So you can basically just add up any number of price variants. And once you've done that, Siri was popping up. Interesting. You see that you immediately have the possibility of adding the prices to this race car. So I have the default price, Black Friday price, maybe that's 19, international price in US dollars, I don't know, that would be 36, and membership price, that would be 25, for example. So you can very easily add any number of prices and you will be able to publish this. And this is on the PIM side. So we are managing the product information here. And the goal here is to have a semantic structure to all of the, in this case, prices, which means that we have a meaning behind it. So it's not just price 1, 2, 3. It's a Black Friday price, it's an international price, and so on. This is, of course,
yeah. This you get because now you define it. Crystallize. This is the point. This is the idea of Crystallize, right? So you define the variance, but I guess people would be needing to have the freedom to change and handle that in their front end, right? So,
that's true.
So
since we're headless, we are supplying this as structured information. So if you look at the API, 7 milliseconds, that's pretty fast. And we look at the product here, and the default query is basically fetching all of the product information. So if you scroll down, you will see that you have the manufacturer and description and whatnot, and then you have the variants. And here you see that you have a price, which is, if you request a price from Crystallize on a variant, you get the default price in the default currency. And then you can also ask for the price variance. And this will basically give you all of the prices that are defined for this product in the actual currency and also with the identifier. And this is where, and we'll show you that with an example in the front end, this is where you would use front end logic to use the right price for your business, because our goal here is to supply the different prices and give you the semantic meaning of it and make it super easy to fetch from the API. So they are available via the price variants directly, very, very quickly. We typically have used the furniture tenant. You will see several live streams that we have done on how you can launch your own web shop using this Jamstack boilerplate. It's using Next.js. And what I'll do is I'll switch to that tenant. So I can jump here to my furniture tenant, which is what we use for public demos. Here I have defined 2 prices. So you have the default, and we have a rule that you cannot change the default identifier. So whenever you ask for a price, the default will always exist. You can change the name and you can change the currency, but the identifier default will always be the default price. And then you can add
another just popped up, sorry to spawn like that, but we had a pretty interesting question in the chat. So if people were like into applying different tax rules for international purchases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that as well by defining another tax group in Crystallize, maybe combining that, right?
Yep.
So it can be, both of these can be handled in the same manner. So define an array of variants and an array of tax groups. You can fetch that.
That's true. And also, and you can tie this together in the front end. And by default, you also associate a default tax group to a product. But if you're doing international sales, you would of course then disregard the tax, for example, because for example for Norway it would be no tax once you export.
Exactly.
But what I've done here is a pretty straightforward example. It's a Norwegian price and an international price in euro. So this is if I'm exporting from Norway, which is where I'm located and not where Stavros is located.
And let's say that I'm buying something.
If you're buying, we have to ship to Athens, where you are.
Yep.
Okay, so what I can do is I'll just show the catalog here, just to reflect that I here have products with international and Norway price. Maybe it should say Norwegian, I don't know. And you can also then, this is not the topic of this live stream, but you can translate the products, which is independent of the pricing, of course. But here we have an example with Norwegian, English, and also Spanish. But the prices is international in euros and Norwegian price in NOK, which is what we use here. And here you can also see that you can associate the default VAT or tax group to the products. If we would look at the front end, and okay, I am looking here at the furniture, which is a single language, single currency setup with Crystallize. So let us actually look at the boilerplate if we start from scratch. So what I'll do is I'll just do this npx at crystallize/cli and execute multi, because we're doing now multi-currency. And what is going on now is that we're basically installing the local copy of the Next.js Jamstack boilerplate, which is an open source starter for you to get started with Crystallize. Last stream, we showed the content and commerce, which is long form storytelling and e-commerce. What we will use now is what we call the complete e-commerce setup with Next.js. So it's got React, server-side rendering, checkout, Lambda APIs, and this is our typical default. We will use the furniture tenant that I briefly showed you. And you can also do that if you want to test locally. Do you want to add payment methods? Yeah, I'll just do Stripe. And you want to add multiple languages? Yes, I would like to do that. And what's happening here is actually we're adding language and locale configuration to the front end. So we'll show what that is all about. Here we're doing English and Norwegian, just the language codes. And now it's doing some dependencies, and it's giving you some information about where to find some resources while the packages are being installed. It takes about a minute. We will now be configuring the tenant with the locale settings. So basically, let me show in the backend here. If you look at the languages, which also will be configured here, I now entered the Norwegian and English language code. That will be used in the front end to have a multilingual switching of languages. But at the same time, we will be defining locales, which is a combination of language and price variance, which in essence, in this case, means currency. And for us to be able to add the pricing to our region, in this case, Norwegian for Norwegian kroners and international for export sales. We'll basically need to do a small modification in the configuration. Here you have a beautiful screen saying everything is ready. There is a file app config that we need to work with. So I'll just enter the multi directory and I'll open my editor of choice. And I'm the only one that uses Atom these days.
It's the entire company for sure.
For some reason, yeah, no comment. But basically what we have done here is have an app configuration. And this is a configuration file that is used for the front-end boilerplate here. It's, of course, totally decoupled from the GraphQL API that we showed. But here we have the which locale is default configuration, URL prefix. We have the app language. This is the labels in the front end. We have the catalog language, which is what we showed. Okay, we have languages. So which catalog language should we fetch for that locale? And then we have price variant. And by default, surprise, surprise, it's default. So this guy we need to change to our identifier, Norway. And we see that we have payment providers, it's just Stripe. Okay, I've done some configuration. And what I can do then is to start up this environment locally. So I get a server running at my local host, port 3000. And this environment basically allows you to debug and develop locally, as we've covered in several live streams. Maybe I should hit enter here. And of course, this is building on request time, so it's slower than the ridiculously fast front end we will deploy. You get the logging in the console here of what's happening and which page is being built and that sort of thing. But basically here we will be able to verify that this looks pretty much like our furniture tenant that is out on furniture.superfast.shop. But I have this multilingual switch here. So here I'm able to switch between English, which then has international prices, and then to Norwegian, which gives me Norwegian kroners in this case. So that's a quick configuration for how I'm able to basically tune the price selection in the front end. If you would have implemented, for example, login, you could check if you have membership pricing, and you could use that instead, for example. So that's the flexibility you have in the front end, where Crystallize will provide you the prices with the semantic structure, but it's up to you to use the right prices for the front end, basically. Let's do this live also, Stavros.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, if I remember.
It's pretty straightforward. So we're using Vercel, and I'll just say that I want to deploy this current folder, found a project called multi, yes, and then it's linking and deploying this. And basically what is going on now is that it's pre-building all of the pages. So it's all static regeneration with the Jamstack strategy, and it's incremental builds. So whenever product or prices or content is changed, it will be automatically refreshed in the front end there. So it's always fast. That's the way we like it.
What I like here is that for those that are familiar with the boilerplate and what we've done basically over the past few live streams, is that if you check out the event where me and Håkon were playing around with languages and showing how multilingual works with the boilerplate, essentially, it's pretty much the same thing exactly. You just only add like the language preference or the language identifier, right? Not language pricing, sorry, identifier to the language config, and it's pretty much for those of you that are actually using the boilerplate, then it's pretty much set already.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And again, it's a local configuration, which is the combination of what language and what price or typically currency are you going to use for this this local setup. And this allows you to do several different scenarios. What we're doing now is, of course, this international versus local pricing. B2b pricing, same setup. You just define multiple price groups. For example, as we had local, regional, and national. And for discounts, you can do it very simple. You can add a retail price, which is the default price, for example. And then you can add a discount price. And in the front end, you could just check if discount price is found. You will show the old price with, strike through now on sale for this price. So you can use it quite versatile. So this is now deployed. I'll do it to production also. And you guys can also check this out right now. It's live on multi.superfast.shop. And I got that domain because I pre-configured what domain should be used with Vercel. And that basically gives you a very, very fast e-commerce front end with a multilingual and multi-currency setup. So it's a great starting point for allowing you to do multinational sales, or if you just want to use it for discounts, or if you're in the B2B space, maybe you don't even want to show prices unless you're logged in. And then depending on which user group or credential you're logged in with, you will get different prices. So this is the setup. And it's, as I showed, it's really quick to do if you want to get up and running with an example. And our point with the boilerplates is that this should be a starting point for you to get started with a tailor-made front end. We try to build it in a way that it's really fast in terms of page speed and performance, and also make it so that it's generic, so you can tailor make it to your specific business. But I guess that's the round trip of going from defining price variance in Crystallize, going to our products and adding the specific price. Notice that I switched the variant and it didn't show a price there because I didn't define it for this variant. So that's why it shows not available in the front end for that particular product. We have this available in the API. You can look at that so that we have the content here. In this case, we have some images, so we have to scroll a little bit here. But you will find the price information under the variants, and you have the price variants, $399, $390, and then you have the different variants. And for each of them, you get the pricing. And then we have ultimately our front end multi.superfast shop. We will keep this running as an example for how you can look at multilingual and multi-currency setup for Crystallize.
Awesome.
Good. So that was what I had on my list, Mr. Stavros.
That was pretty nice. I mean, I know quite a few people that are super interested in that. It's going to be very useful for sure. And it's, again, I think it's pretty easy to handle because you just get the data, map it out properly, and just select. It's basically an if statement. So it's pretty versatile, right? Pretty generic. So nice.
Really powerful, really simple.
Awesome. So I think this is pretty much it. We will not announce, or should we, tease what's going to be the next live stream.
Oh, that would you search next Thursday, you mean?
Oh, yeah. Hints in the air. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Search is another really requested event or feature. So yeah, join us next week. It's going to be interesting for sure to show when we actually get this. Not we have already, but shush. Yeah, so join us next week. Thanks everyone for joining. For anything, feel free to reach out. The whole team, again, is available on Slack. And if you have any questions on either pricing variants or anything really, feel free. We'll be there to respond. So thanks again for joining. Have a great day. Bye-bye.